is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And this is one of the special episodes I do every single week where we highlight the top offensive and defensive players. This week, however, there was a lot of offense, didn't get any really defensive nominations, so we're going to have two players for co-offensive player of the weeks. The first one I'm having on today is a running back at RHAM, the RHAM Raptors. Then, they play in the CCC. Max Nylen, a senior, had 8 touchdowns, 400 plus yards rushing. And Max, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Before we get into that game, and there's a lot I want to get into that, just looking at kind of the overall career that you've had at RHAM so far, would you say that last night was by far the highlight going into now your senior year?
Definitely. I think last night was my best performance I've ever had. Last year my highest was 4 touchdowns in one game, and I thought that was pretty good. But to go out last night and to double it, it's just something that, I was pretty surprised at, and I'm more than happy about. But I have only 2 real varsity years of experience because I didn't get to play my sophomore year because of COVID. But definitely last night was probably the highlight of it.
Now, with you missing your sophomore year, man, and you mentioned how the lack of varsity experience really for you early on,
Mhm.
do you feel like now with it being your senior year and with the amount of games that you've had, that the game is starting to slow down a little bit for you?
Yeah, I definitely think that last year, towards the end of the season, caught a stride, and I really, I was able to make a name for myself. I finished with it was like 10 touchdowns over our last 3 games, and I was just looking to carry that into this year. And so far, I've just continued right where I left off, and I think that I'm really starting to make a name for myself and the Ram community. And I think that it's great having this experience, and I wish I played my sophomore year because who knows, I might have done even better last year. But, I'm just thankful for what I've had so far and to where I am today.
Now, with you talking about the numbers you put up last year and what you've done this year,
Mhm,
aka, with the big performance you did yesterday against Farmington,
mhm,
um, your running style, and I watched some film on you when I had the opportunity today.
mhm,
Talk to the people who may not know the kind of running style, the kind of running back that
mhm.
you are for Ram.
Yeah, so I'm the type of running back, catch the edge, outrun everyone, be more elusive. We've run normally 2 running backs. My co-running back, his name is Mike Marquise. He's more of the power back, short yardage. He's just gonna run people over, and he's had more success this year than he did last year, and he's been great. But I think we're kind of a combo. He provides the power and strength. I'm more of the elusiveness and speed that's able to get those breakaway runs.
The kind of offense that Ram runs, is it 20 personnel? Is it 21 personnel? What exactly is it?
We have a variety of personnels. We run, 11, we run 20, we run 21, 22 even. And then there's times where we're empty as well. So we really have pretty much everyone in the book. We implemented, you know, 3 running backs in the backfield with 2 tight ends, stuff like that. So, I mean, we pretty much covered all of them.
Are you able to, and your fellow running back companion, able to do more than just run the football? Are you able to block? Are you able to receive, in the flat or in the screen game? Are you able to do stuff like that as well?
Yeah, we're both more than capable of catching the ball. We haven't thrown the ball much this year because of the success that the run has presented us. But
Mhm.
last year, I think I had 200 or 300 receiving yards just out of the backfield. I'm lined up as slot when we just have 1 running back, so I'm pretty capable of receiving the ball. So is Mike. And Mike is a great blocker. I'm a decent blocker myself. We're both coming from O lineman backgrounds, so we know how to block when we need to.
Coming into this senior year, talk to me about the what was the conversation like amongst you and the rest of the team and, the expectations for this season? Because right now you guys are having a good season. You're 3-1. I mean, the only loss you had was week 2 against Berlin. And I mean, Berlin coming off a very good win against
Yeah.
Bloomfield, coming back and then kicking what would have been nice from a 60-plus yard field goal. I think it
Mhm.
was inside the 40 or something like that. But
Yeah.
just talk to me about kind of the conversations and the expectations coming into this season for you guys.
I mean, coming into the season, we knew we were gonna have a young team. We lost a lot of seniors last year, which means we lost a lot of varsity experience. But over the summer, a lot of the sophomore and junior class, they stepped up and they became players who are way better than what they were last year. And just even though they have limited varsity experience, they're able to get the job done. And I think that, coming into the season, we knew that with the expansion of the playoffs, we'd be able to possibly make a run if we succeed. But, Rams, we've never made the playoffs before, and we've only had like 2 seasons above 500. So that was definitely a goal of ours to make the playoffs in order to be the first team in Ram history to do that.
How long has Ram been playing football for? I mean, I
Uh,
apologize if that's a dumb question. I really have no idea. How long
we're
has he been playing
the
football?
football program is relatively new compared to a lot of schools. We were established in like 2003, so we haven't had too many years playing football, but in the years that we haven't had much success.
And you mentioned how they've never made the playoffs, and you've only had two
Mhm.
winning seasons.
Yep,
What class is Ram in right now?
we're a class M.
Your class M, okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, again, just looking at kind of the schedule that you have, going forward. I mean, Plainville, East Catholic, then Bloomfield, we mentioned Platt, Avon,
Hmm.
Macon Academy. Uh,
Hmm.
there's again, I'm not looking at the Class M standings right now,
Yeah.
but if you guys continue the pace that you're doing, and there's a lot of teams that have made the playoffs, being
Yeah.
not strictly, but their strength is running the football. I
Yeah.
see it in the NVL with Naugatuck. They're a wing T offense. They can pass it a little, but
Yeah.
they rely on the backs. Has that even crossed your guys' mind with the record that you have right now that there's potential history being made by you guys at some point?
Yeah, that's always the goal to make the playoffs, but I think right now we're trying to just take it one game at a time because in order to get into the playoffs, we have to continue winning, and we can't get too far ahead of ourselves and putting wins in our record without actually playing the game yet. So we're not trying to predict anything. I think we're just trying to go out every week and give it our all, and hopefully that ends in a win.
The loss to Berlin was tough. It was a
Mhm.
one-sided game, and I'm sure it stung with you guys.
Yep.
Do you believe that because the next game was away, do you
Mhm.
think that it was good to kind of get away from the home field for a little bit after a game like that?
I think, it's always a good morale boost in order to get in and get an away game on a field like Brookfield, with the vast amount of student section that they had. But we came into yesterday wanting to change the aura of our field, which has been a lot of losses over the last 20 years. So we're
Mhm.
trying to change that, and I think yesterday really changed the student body's perspective on what Ram football is, and that was another one of our goals is change the community's thoughts on what Ram football really is.
You mentioned the community and trying to change what the outlook is from people about Ram football. Do you and your teammates, uh, how do I put this? Do you guys take that with uh, a lot of like basically to heart as far as what they have thought in the past, and you
Mhm.
guys want to try to not so much erase the history, but say we did not have control over that. We have control over right
Mhm.
now, and we want to change what you guys think of the
Yeah.
football program.
Yeah, it's one of the team's goals, but it's one of my goals as well. I'm tired of, people thinking Ram football, that's an easy win on our schedule. I want to be able to come out and compete with these higher up teams and to make a name for ourselves, especially in the Ram community. I
Mhm.
know last year for our Thanksgiving game, a lot of people around the Hebron, Marlboro, Andover area were going to come out. However, the game got forfeited by Bacon. But a lot of Coach Fleming's, our head coach, his mentality is he wants to change the culture, and we started that last year, and we want to continue that into this year in order to make a new name for ourselves.
Talk to me about the culture. What has and you mentioned the head coach is Coach Fleming, correct?
Mhm, yeah.
What has he done to change the culture at RAM?
I think one of his main goals is to make us more as a brotherhood in order to play more as a team and play for one another. He brought up, picking up your guy whenever he gets tackled. And from the first game to now, first game, I had to get myself up a few times, but now I have people running over across the field to come pick me up. And I think it's really changed to where we're more playing for each other now. And then he also wants us to make a more positive impact in the school community, whether it's, going to other sports games and cheering them on, making an impact on the youth football program by talking to them and trying to get them to stay at RAM because we've had problems with kids transferring out in the past. So he's trying to sustain the team going in the future, and I think he's done a great job. We did some volunteer work for 4-H camp, cleaning that up in Marlboro. So I think we're trying to change the viewpoint that the community has on us and to make us more as a brotherhood who plays for one another and who are willing to help the community whenever they need us.
There's a lot that can go into, man, as far as, like you mentioned, being able to go out to the community and show your faces, because a lot of times when you're playing the game, people can't see your faces because you're
Hmm.
wearing a helmet. And
Yeah.
I think to go to the youth, to support them, and like you mentioned, as far as trying to keep them in house and
Yeah.
not have them go outside the school. And it's hard to say if that's made an impact because it's so early and those kids are not
Hmm.
going to be at the high school yet. But I would
Yeah.
think that if that is continued, even after you graduate, and Coach Fleming is still at the school and coaching the football program, I would think there should be an impact, a positive impact over the course
Hmm.
of the years as things maturate. What says you?
Hmm. Yeah, I would hope so. Coach Fleming, he talked to us seniors and says, we're going to be out in a year. It's not going to be our problem, but he still hope that we'd still go out and talk to him. And all of us seniors, we're more than happy to go out and help him because he's helped us the last 4 years that we've had him.
Mhm.
And, I was more than grateful to go and talk to the youth program because I want to see RAM succeed now and I want to see them succeed in 10 years in the future. So I think that all of us really took it to heart and were willing to continue this tradition of trying to get the kids to stay in order to make RAM a stronger program.
So I want to talk about the Farmington game. You and I were talking beforehand how you had a couple touchdowns early, and then you had the bulk of them in the second half.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just talk to me about the game atmosphere. I mean, how are you feeling? Because a game like that, high school, college, pros, whatever, it's not easy to
Mhm.
get 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's hard to get for some guys. It's hard to get one. For some
Yeah.
others, it's hard to get four. And for you to put up the numbers that you did, I mean, do you realize the history that was made by you?
I did. I didn't know at the time. I saw an article by Journal Inquirer this morning, and they said I was tied for like third of all time in Connecticut State history for most touchdowns in a game. I think one kid had 10, one had 9. But I know Victor Rosa last year, he had 8 against Holland, so I tied that. I don't know if anyone else has. But yeah, so yesterday's performance, I wasn't aware of at that time, but I know that I was somewhere up in the ranks, I would assume.
Mhm. Now, the overall, as the game progressed, did you realize that you were having the game of a lifetime?
Um, you know, I think I realized it. I didn't really, it didn't really settle with me.
Mhm.
Because for the bulk of that game, it was a close game until the like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So I think I was more focused on winning the game because I didn't really care how many touchdowns I had if we were going to lose that because we were up like 3 points. And then I got an interception, which kind of changed momentum. And then we were able to put it in the end zone a few more times and stop them on defense. So I think that it really didn't settle with me towards the end of the fourth quarter when I knew, we were up 30, we're going to win this game. I can be happy for like my accomplishments.
I've always believed in it. It sucks for the athletes because when you think about a game that you have, it's hard
Mhm.
to really enjoy it because you're so focused on depending if you're on hopefully the winning side, you're
Yeah.
more concerned with trying to win the game and obviously
Mhm.
the intricacies of whatever sport that is. And then after the game, it's like again, you can enjoy it, but it's
Mhm.
hard to enjoy it during the game. So the
Mhm.
question I have for you is, were you able to enjoy what you were doing as far as putting up 400 yards plus the 8 touchdowns? Were you able to enjoy it in the moment?
Yeah, definitely. Every time I score a touchdown, I always have my team come celebrate with me. It's always great, especially when you're in the lead. So I think that I was definitely able to enjoy it throughout the game because we were up. If
Mm.
they scored a touchdown, then I was a little down, but I just knew that we had to come back, put it in the end zone again. So I was able to enjoy it for the most part. I definitely enjoyed it after the game, celebrating with my team. But it was a great feeling towards the end of the game.
As we look at kind of what is next for you guys, you play against, if I recall, you guys play against Plainville, then East Catholic, away
Yep.
and home.
Yep.
For you guys in particular, and you kind of hinted to it before, you're not looking at the long game right now. You're just
Yeah.
taking it one game at a time.
Mhm.
But it sounds like this team, if you can keep doing what you are doing, and it sounds
Mhm.
like the running game is the key, you guys could be well on your way to making not just for you making history, but for the
Mhm.
team to make history.
Yeah, I would hope so. Um, we're focused on winning against Plainville right now, but I would hope in the long run we put together enough wins in order to make the state playoffs this year.
Max, I really do appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. Before I let you go, I mentioned to you before about colleges, and
Mhm.
I said that having 8 touchdowns, 400 yards could really kind of, gravitate attention
Yeah.
to you. Have coaches, contacted you? Has anybody, quote unquote, big time reached out to you, emailed you, anything like that since the performance?
Not yet. I just put it out on Twitter earlier this morning because I got my film together and all that, and I had my stats. So not much attention has come yet, but I would hope it would come, in the next coming days. I sent emails out to the coaches that
Mhm.
I want to go play for. So, nothing has come so far, but you never know what can happen in the next few days. It's still relatively close to when the game ended, so I'm not too worried right now.
And if you think about too, again, if we go back to the long game aspect, if
Mhm.
success continues to happen for RAM and you guys can make the playoffs, there are people who do go to watch the games, and you never know if they're college scouts or if they're
Mhm.
just in general. People talk.
Mhm.
Somebody
Yeah.
could know somebody, and that's how things go.
Yeah.
Or depending on what team you're playing, it's the same thing. So there's a lot that can happen if things can just continue like you guys have been doing so far.
Yeah. I think if we continue to win, and I would hope so, I think we'll be able to get more notice from colleges and get scouts at our games because, in the past, we haven't had much of a name for ourselves, especially at the college level. So I think by continuing this, we're going to make a name for ourselves, and college scouts are going to want to come to RAM in order to watch us.
Well, Max, I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. Congratulations on being named the co-offensive player of the week. Best of luck the rest of this season, and hopefully, your team can make history just like you did against Farmington and continue on doing what you guys have been doing so far.
All right. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. MRCT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm entering. Find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.